Gospel Drive with Lady T. This is Premier Gospel. Music for life.
So this afternoon, I have talents that range from graphic design all the way to journalism, filmmaking and film production. Now, Jennifer G. Robinson and Laurelle both believe that the underrepresentation of women of colour in the creative industry remains stubbornly low. The pair are currently working on a festival called Women of the Lens, and they join me in the studio. Hello, Laurelle and Jennifer.
Hello, hi, it's good to meet you.
You too. Okay, so Jennifer, tell us about Women of Colour on the Lens. What inspired the festival?
Okay, Women of the Lens is an inspiration for me. I've been in the industry from quite some time, and that it's kind of merged from in various aspects. I started out as a journalist, then went into teaching film and media. Then I moved out from that, went into magazines. And my first taste of film festival came via the Black Filmmaker International Film Festival when I connected with the film director Menelik Shabazz. And out of the blue, I mean, these things, you say these things happen out of the blue. I don't think they do. But amazingly, I came on board to do be festival coordinator of that long-running film festival. And it was from that taste that I thought, I can do this. I can finally see my own realizations come to fruition with Women of the Lens. And it's primarily because, as you've said, there's still that underrepresentation of women of colour, of black women in our media sphere, not just in film.
What then led to the two of you connecting, to you and Laurelle? How did you two then come together?
Dare I say it?
So Jennifer was actually my teacher when I was at college.
Really?
Years ago.
Wow. Okay.
Jennifer taught me media studies at a college in Croydon called John Ruskin. Jennifer was actually the reason why I enjoyed media and going to film. She was an excellent teacher. I just got to shout that one out.
Thank you.
And long story short is that obviously you leave college, you don't really remember your tutors. I have not spoken to Jennifer since I left college. We never kept in contact. However, is it last year or early this year, we bumped into each other at a private screening of film, which I happened to be filming for somebody. Like filming the Q&As and doing some stuff like that. And so first of all, I recognised her and was like, oh, hold on, you're Jennifer. But at the time, I didn't say Jennifer because I couldn't remember. I was like, you're Miss.
You're Miss.
Oh, making me sound 100 years old. Oh, my God.
Right. So it's you're Miss. That was that first bit. Then to actually make it a bit more complicated, Jennifer works in PR. In film, and there was a recent film that I was working on that she had approached us to do marketing on, which I still didn't realise that was Jennifer. And so to jump back to that event, at the end of the event, we was talking, and Jennifer said to me, "Why don't you have a business card?" And I just said, "Yeah, it's true. I never really,
why?"
I got one now, guys. Got one now. But anyway. Jennifer then handed me her business card, and then I saw the name and thought, hold on, you want to work on a film? That's me. You've been approaching me. It's me. And then like, oh my gosh. So then from then we've worked on this film. So we've done a whole full circle. Then from that film, she saw how amazing I am. And now we work together on this film.
Wow.
You couldn't make it up. You really couldn't.
You really can't.
Providence.
Like, everything's just working together.
I think Jennifer technically was just training me at a young age to work for her. This is what we need to do.
If only I could do that with all my students.
Right?
Oh my God.
Years down the line.
That was so funny. Oh my gosh. Okay, so do you really think women of colour are underrepresented in media today? And in what ways?
For me, women of colour are not represented in a holistic way. The types of roles that you see us in are still particularly narrow and do not show the whole aspect of what we are. Now, that's not to say that other women don't suffer similar aspects, because they do. But there are more opportunities, and there are far more roles to show other types of women. So you may get a one woman who is a prostitute or a whore, or she's whatever role, But then there are women who are homemakers, or they are entrepreneurs, or they are businesswomen, or that whole spectrum. For women of colour, particularly on British television now, that's still a problem. That really is a problem still from my perspective, yes.
Okay. To you, Jennifer, do you still recall what media was like growing up? I'm sure there was less diversity then than now.
It was. Certainly British television, it was a drought. I was thrilled to interview Nichelle Nichols. Do you know who she is?
No, I wish I did.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Lieutenant Uhuru of Star Trek.
Oh, right, yeah. Oh,
and, I interviewed her. It was such a joy and a privilege to do that. And one of the things I recalled to her was that whenever she came on screen for me as a little girl watching her, I was just mesmerised to see this black woman, and she was in a prominent position, and she was confident in what she was doing, and she was knowledgeable in what she was doing. She was communications, and no communication happened really, especially to aliens, without her. And she was just a breath of fresh air in our front room that really helped us on the other side of that, when there was no other representation really back in the day.
Okay, and where do you think the media's attitude towards women of colour comes from?
I think that a lot of it starts with the film called Birth of a Nation, 1915, directed by D.W. Griffiths, is often cited as the birthplace, if you like, of many of the stereotypical representations that we see of people of colour. Now, Birth of a Nation is a 3-hour silent movie. I might have even tried to teach the students with that. That was tough. But it's where you see many of those stereotypes that you see of people of colour. And the reason why we still mention it today is because it's often cited as the film which brought us many of the film techniques that we still use today. But unfortunately, they're based on racist tropes. So one of the main characters in there, or one of the racist characters, is the so-called black mammy, the oversized, very dark, a nondescript black woman who has no other family except the white family, and she caters to their every need. She protects their every need. And it has been argued, many theorists have argued, that character has remained with us throughout film history, throughout media history, and one could pinpoint a number of characters today that still fulfills that role.
Interesting. And in terms of how because Birth of a Nation was a old film, have you seen the new one?
I have not.
You haven't seen it?
No.
Will you be seeing it though? Or have you sort of thought,
well,
not
when
quite
you
sure?
say the new one, Birth of a Nation is directed by Nate Parker, that's right. And it's based on some of the stories of a historical figure. So let's get this right. It's not a remake of the 1915 film. It's
okay.
not.
All right.
Yeah. It's quite different.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was like the same thing. Okay. So what have been some of the challenges putting the festival together?
Oh, wow.
Both laugh.
I think for any festival, it's about venues. Of course, it's about financing, but venues, because venues have an impact on your programming, and it also has an impact upon the length of time that you can have your festival. We've been very fortunate, and it also, and because of that, it says to me that I really need to continue with this, because of course I have my nightmare moments when I think, oh my God, is this the right thing to do? I really do have those moments, but because so many things have fallen into place, it just gives me the encouragement to think that, yeah, this is the right thing to do.
So with you, Laurelle, what's your involvement with the whole project?
So I am the boss lady. I love saying stuff like that, but I'm just under Jennifer. I'm so honoured and privileged. I'm called the festival coordinator. That is my role. And as we're at the primary stages, it's been a lot of doing research and seeing what is actually out there in the industry. One of the main things that I really loved about the ethos of Women of the Lens is that we wanted to look at UK. I've been to many festivals where there's lots of America, even though it's a UK festival. So I liked the idea that our main thing was, let's see what the UK have, because, and not in a rude way to be like, what you got, but like, here, this is what we actually have from our country. So I've really enjoyed, it's been fun because I like watching films anyway, and then it's been interesting because it's made me push further in my research to find and see, because there's not really an industry per se, but there's lots of independent stuff going on the ground. So that's been really good. And
I mean, one of the key reasons that I chose Laurelle to come and assist with this was that she's very meticulous and methodical in what she does. And as she's saying, in our first, I mean, we're currently in the project management stage, and it really is that kind of nitty-gritty, hardcore research, looking up, finding, drafting, communicating in that particular way. Soon, after we've curated and we have our program, we're going to have something that is far more communicative in terms of relationship building. And again, I saw that in Laurelle. So it's not just, about my past history with her. She has some specific skills that I thought would blend exceptionally well with the festival.
Thank you.
And you make films as well sometimes. So is one of your films going to be in the festival as well?
Is one, is two, is 100.
All of them? All of them?
No, even like the recent one, the D Word.
Yes.
That's not just me. That was the wonderful Tamala Caesar who's here.
Yeah.
We put that in. Like, that's got to be in there.
Fantastic.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's the same thing I'm saying. Like, people are making films, but sometimes don't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that we can re-educate and say, you make a film, pull it in a festival. How about that? Like, just what Jennifer said earlier, put a budget aside towards putting things out there. It's not something we're trained to do. We're trained to make a film, and then we just sit on it and tell our friends and do little
say
stuff.
and then just leave it like that.
We don't realise that we've actually got great skills here that can be honoured. Do you know what I mean? So it's gonna be good.
So in terms of like the genres of things that have been submitted, is it different genres of styles of filming? You've got documentary, or you've got proper film, short films, faith-based films as well. Yeah. So is that all going to be entered in it?
Yes, it's up to basically the individual. To be fair, you enter it as long as you feel that it follows the criteria that we're looking for, and then once we've got the entries in, we then sit down and decide whether it meets specifically what we're looking for. But yes, there's no bias. Okay. We've got it open, as long as it's in the criteria that we're looking for, and the quality.
So for you, Laurelle, in terms of because we've had a lot of faith-based films which are like kind of have been out. What would stand out for you if someone was to make a faith-based film? Like, what is it that you're looking for, or you would be looking for to make it be like, okay, this is definitely different? Because some of the ones that we've had have been quite questionable. I'm not going to name names, but
are you talking about British or like American or like in the world or like
in the world in general? But so what do you think is going to make it stand out?
Well, for this specific film festival, we are looking at our main focus is how are you representing the women in your film? If it's going to be the main protagonist, if the main protagonist is a woman, or if the crew behind the film have a lot of heavily run by women, or because it could be a man's produced it and directed it, but it's looking at the life of a woman and it displays that representation of women and their lifestyle. So there's kind of corners you can cut. It doesn't have to have that crew, but then the narrative has to be flowing with the understanding of women of colour.
Fantastic. Okay.
I mean, it is open. They're all genres. So we're looking at shorts and features and digital and broadcast. And within that, there are romantic comedies or documentaries and so on and so forth. And in terms of openness and the submissions, I'm happy to hear from men, allied women who are looking at investigating that difference of representation of women. So how much autonomy does that woman have in that piece? What is her relationship to the men? Is she just tagging along? How is she driving the narrative? That's what I'm interested in. And as Laurelle said before, what's equally important about the festival is about providing that industry networking.
Yeah.
So how is it crewed up?
Jennifer, creatives and filmmakers can submit their work for the festival, can't they? So how can they do that?
We're listed on Film Freeway. We're searchable on there, but you can also find us on the website, which is all the W's, womenofthelens.com, and there's a button there that you can submit the work. We're also on Facebook as Women of the Lens. We're on Twitter at Women of the Lens, and we're looking at other platforms as we develop.
Fantastic. So one last question. Why do we need more diversity in media?
Diversity for me is a bit of a sticky word. I think it's been overused, and I think that the meaning it has become somewhat diluted. But for me, it really means about representing or seeing as whole of an individual as one possibly can, not only in front of the screen but behind the screen, behind the lens, not only in front of the lens, behind the lens. Because I mean, if we only look at things from a nature point of view, nature does not like a monoculture. She demands diversity, and from that diversity she's able to build and create this wonderful place that we still live on so far. And I would say that the so-called diversity is required in any sphere or discipline of our careers. So in business, it's quite important for people to look at, well, stop looking at people like yourself. Think about looking at somebody different. What could they bring to your business that might enhance what you have? Help you to see things a different way, because we can get tunnel vision oftentimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. That's a good definition. I like that. Awesome. Okay, so what else is coming up for you in terms of, you've got the festival, anything else that you're going to be doing?
Oh, good Lord, yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
Okay, in terms of the festival, we are looking at road showing next year. Because one of the legitimate accusations about living in this wonderful city is that we're getting far too much of the funding and far too much of the intention in terms of creativity. And some of that needs to, or a lot of that needs to peter out to other places on these isles. So we're looking at building relationships beyond London. So we're looking at Manchester, Birmingham, Sheffield, Cardiff. We can't do it all in 1 year. I would love to, if I could clone myself, but definitely at least 2 cities outside of London we're going to roadshow.
Okay, fantastic, awesome. All right, so thank you to you both for coming in. It's been a pleasure to have you both.